Нам не нужна война, ни холодная, ни горячая, ни гибридная. Но если на нас будут наступать войска, если у нас попытаются отнять нашу страну, нашу свободу, наши жизни, жизни наших детей, мы будем защищаться.
On February 24th, just hours after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation, bombing by the Russian military began, followed by thousands of troops entering Ukraine. So what led to this catastrophic invasion, and what do Americans need to know? Since Vladimir Putin's ascent to power in 2000, according to US officials, his end goal for decades has been a restoration of the former Soviet Union, including now independent countries like Ukraine. NATO, an alliance of 30 European and North American countries established after World War II, has been an effective deterrent against international aggression, but also an informal adversary to Putin's long-term plans. Ukraine sits on the border between Russia and many NATO countries, and has made overtures in the past decade to align itself closer with the European Union and NATO, creating tension between Russia and Ukraine. The conflict reached a critical point in 2014 when pro-Moscow Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych rejected an association agreement with the European Union. Following that controversial decision, massive protests began, and the Ukrainian parliament voted to remove him from office while efforts to join NATO resumed. In response, Russia invaded and effectively annexed Crimea, an ethnically Russian territory of Ukraine on the Black Sea. To the east, Ukrainian separatists began fighting for control of additional regions, supported by Russian arms and supplies. And while a peace agreement later in 2014 largely ended full-scale fighting among Ukrainians and rebel forces, it allowed separatists to create their own police force and keep political influence in the region, effectively keeping pro-Moscow rebels in power. Recently in the past weeks, though, Putin formally rejected that peace agreement and recognized these regions of Donetsk and Luhansk as independent states. No one knows exactly why Putin has escalated the conflict to full-scale invasion now, but economic sanctions from multiple countries, including halting Nord Stream 2, a crucial gas pipeline from Russia to Germany and the rest of Europe, has not deterred the leader's aggression. Putin has strongly denounced Ukraine's attempts to join NATO in recent years and considers their inclusion a red line in diplomatic discussions, and has described Russians and Ukrainians as one people and questioned Ukraine's right to exist as an independent country. President Joe Biden has stated that he will reinforce military assets in NATO countries as the conflict progresses and will increase economic sanctions on Russia with the G7 countries. At home, Americans could start seeing economic impacts, mostly in the gas and oil industry. Russia is a major exporter of oil, nearly 10% of the global supply. And while the US doesn't import much from Russia, unrest could spook commodity markets and exacerbate the global supply chain already reeling from a 2-year pandemic crunch. No one's sure what will happen next, but a military invasion of this force hasn't been seen in years.
Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences.